Hi, Tucker. I'm Todd. Hi, Todd. I'm Tucker.
I got lost a little bit. What was the point we made before?
Did we make a point?
Meandering? I don't know.
Me neither. Maybe we should introduce tonight's premise.
Indeed, we should. Tonight's premise. Did it have anything to do? I don't know. I really wish that I knew why I brought that up. I had a friendly conversation with my vaporizer before this episode.
Jeez. Okay. Well, that happened.
Okay, I'm opening a fresh doc because I would like to focus on our premise for today, which is we have decided in our chat that, I don't know if we've decided exactly, but I propose that the overarching theme of this season 3, could be that Tucker and Todd refuse to go on adventures unless under the condition that they're educational adventures. Because Todd's entire worldview is based on George Carlin bits, and he needs a bit of an education to bring it up to more modern, realistic point of view.
It also has to be funny, obviously.
Oh, it will be inherently funny. Our mission along the way is to turn an educational thing into a funny thing.
In fact, in truth, the educational part is kind of negotiable because it should come as no surprise to anybody that we're not experts in anything.
No, we are not, and we're not here to actually educate. The point of these episodes and of the season will not necessarily actually to be educational for our audience, but will at least kind of like, I guess, virtue signal and it's not earnestly virtue signal as though we are going to be deserving any sort of social credit from it, but to use tropes from things we like Magic School Bus and Schoolhouse Rock, and these types of things.
This is going to be Jailhouse Rock.
Yeah, we should do that. We should do jail with that when we do our justice system episode. We can do a bit of Jailhouse Rock.
Oh, that's going to be so spicy when we talk about recidivism.
And so, yeah, so making fun of education, but yeah, we're not here to this is not an actual educational program, but it's our gimmick. Actually, I called it a theme, but it's our gimmick.
Hashtag, this is not legal advice,
No, we're not experts on anything. We just have opinions and a strong desire to tell stories and make jokes.
And if we can teach these characters a little bit of a lesson, that would be okay too. Even if they don't quite learn the one that we're trying to teach them.
Well, I mean, to I guess kind of like peek behind the curtain a little bit, one of my intentions with kind of to specifically say Todd requires an upgrade in his perspective is some of the times that I come up with a premise, I recognize that it comes from kind of like a flawed, outdated point of view that I've never actually explored and just sort of like adopted based on words that I appreciated at a given time, and it made sense because of whatever emotional attachment. I haven't necessarily introspected all the way on all of the things, all of my opinions, and so some of the bits come from my opinions and needing to explore them and open up them, and some of the intention of Tucker and Todd is to explore my own opinions and make fun of them.
So they have a basis in basically a challenge that has never, or an opinion that has never really been challenged, and that's what we're going to try and do.
Yeah, we're going to challenge them with humor and a little bit of logic.
And hopefully we actually walk away with a conclusion or two.
Hopefully. And
now, Plato is the one who's going to be our educator. Is that right?
I think so. I think we have sort of introduced him into our world, and it would be cool if by the end of the season it turned out that the reason that he has been with us this whole time had something to do with maybe even something bigger, something to do with Columbo or Mom. I don't know. Maybe this is Mom is distracting us with education.
That means that at least at one point during the season, we need to do the limitless version where they stop taking their meds.
Right. That is on my list of things to get to. That's one of the more recent ones. So, yeah. Okay. I mean, things can change as we navigate through the season, but it's good to lay down checkpoints.
Naturally. All right. So Plato is going to be our Miss Frizzle. He'll be our guide. What is he guiding us on today?
Okay, today we had several weeks ago, I think, started a thread called Proactive Plans because you sent me a meme of, I think it was, what was the show? Invincible?
I forget what I think it was Invincible, but it was about how wheat has domesticated humans.
Yeah, you think that humans invented agriculture and that was their great theme, but no, actually, wheat domesticated humans. And I really was taken with the idea of advanced intellectual wheat, and so were you. And you kind of pushed it down the road of human level intelligence. Oh, that was the humans that we were talking about. So we kind of pushed it down the road to this idea that plants came up with, where did you have it down at the bottom? Plants came up with society and agriculture. That's interesting.
Well, yeah, it's been a long con this whole time.
Oh, we had gotten down at the very bottom. At one point, we had gotten to the idea that this was being told from the perspective of an elder modern plant, which is telling its grandchildren about the old days. An old tree that's lived for like 2,000 years, who was a sapling in the days before the human revolution. So yeah, because you had said that plants had invented agriculture and society and had held humans captive for years, had domesticated humans who they made do all their labor, and that eventually the humans revolted and stole the idea and then turned plants into their agriculture things that they used and domesticated animals. But
Yeah, once upon a time, it was humans were basically just slavishly sowing wheat seeds everywhere and otherwise helping wheat to expand and propagate. And it didn't occur to us to try and eat it.
so maybe Plato knows this old tree, and the old tree has sent out some sort of plaintive call about, because we were saying maybe we can tie this into like ecology or climate change. I don't know. The climate change thing, I still like bringing the pipeline thing. I want to address the pipeline thing eventually. But maybe the old tree tells Tucker and Todd about this terrible thing that is occurring now, and we could learn by going back into the days. We're going to do it back in time again with Plato. He is our time traveling Ms. Frizzle. We're going to go back and see the days when plants were supreme.
Oh, yeah. I mean, after all, he's already taken us forward in time. I think it's perfectly appropriate for us to now have an adventure back in time. Way back in time.
Now, here's the thing: because this is cyborg Plato, right? Or this is steampunk Plato.
Yeah, I think he was a cyberpunk guy. He's got like a mechanical eye and stuff, or
Right.
cybernetic.
Yeah.
He's seen some shit, man.
Does he know about this era of the plants? Because we didn't know about it. It's not human history has not told stories. Maybe that was destroyed in the Library at Alexandria. I don't know.
I think that's where the last remaining documentation of this entire period of human history should have been. Yes. Otherwise, I'm pretty sure that humanity wouldn't have kept detailed records of that time that their entire species was enslaved to a bunch of fucking wheat. You know what I mean? I think we would cover that up.
Yeah. I thought that was a cute joke to throw in. But okay, so do we incorporate, does Plato know the old tree?
Yes, it's safe to say that Plato is aware of that particular part of history. He's time traveled all over the place. And I do like the idea that at least one written account of that history was lost at the Library of Alexandria. That was the only one. And it's all gone now. And everybody else was happy enough to forget anyway.
Oh, is there a chance that perhaps, it's kind of funny that we're time traveling, but we're not going to try to prevent the destruction of the Library at Alexandria?
No, I think Plato is going to actually forbid us from meddling further in time. He's only going to let us. He's only going to let us change events in the present to create different future outcomes. I think it's safe to say that he won't allow us to go back in time and possibly accidentally unmake ourselves.
Do we make a reference to that then? We try to interact with the environment, but we just kind of go through it and we're like, hey, what gives? And he says, I'm doing more of a Christmas Carol thing.
Yeah, I'm not letting you guys interfere with the
Yeah.
time stream this time. It did not work out last time. And he's got a point to like a he's got like a he has to have like a brand new piece of cybernetics that he can point to and be like, this did not happen before.
Well, this is what he pulls out Chekhov's gun and says, remember this?
Oops.
He confiscated it.
But we still got our slime guy. So it's okay.
Oh, yeah, we do have our buddy. Did we name him the Guardian of This?
Yeah, I guess he needs a name. I want to call him Nigel.
Nigel?
Yeah, because he's like my valet.
I guess so. I was thinking something a little bit more cute since he's got his backpack.
Okay, what do you have in mind?
I went straight to Kevy.
Is he gonna be Kevin then? I'm okay with him being Kevin.
Kevin's good.
I mean, we would call him Kevy.
Or should we give him one of the Tucker? Is he Kyle? Is he a Tucker and Todd name?
Oh,
Kevin might have been on that list actually.
if it isn't, it probably should have been, because I think it counts as one of those kind of soft white names.
I'm just listening through it really quickly. It's a minute long. Cody and Cameron and Dylan and Tucker.
Cody.
Cody's a good one. That's kind of cute. Actually, Cody's Shody. He can have his own little Shody.
That's right.
You can have a Cody's floaty.
I love Cody.
He's doing God's work. I'm gonna write it down.
Little slimy Cody. But is he with us on this time traveling adventure? Maybe it's a bad idea to try and take something from the future to the past.
Yeah, maybe he can be hanging out with us in the beginning when we're at the studio, probably, because we do need this one should start with maybe at least a little bit of calm.
Yeah, probably like a good minute or so of business as usual type stuff. There's Stan over there on the couch reading his magazine and otherwise ignoring everybody. There's Craig asking Stan to do something, which inevitably Craig is going to have to do himself.
We can do maybe a little bit of a nod and also some like foreshadowing and have us watching Magic School Bus.
Oh, I'd like that. I'd like that a lot. That kind of sets in an indirect way. It kind of sets the overall theme and tone of the episode.
Yeah.
And since we're just a couple of man children, we'd be watching cartoons for sure.
Or we might also just be showing Cody, getting him like settled. This is how we're showing him. We're learning him.
Okay. This is how we're educating Cody. We're teaching him through the miracle of television. This is how we were raised.
Well, because he showed us Caddyshack, and we're like, now watch some actual art.
Nice. And this is SpongeBob. 2 hours later.
Oh, perfect. That's actually funny. Yeah.
And then I guess at that point, that's when Plato has to come in through the time machine and be like, Doc Brown, kind of. We gotta go to the past.
Who did we have? Somebody did a Doc Brown recently. Was that Plato?
It was Plato. He came in and did a Doc Brown at the end of the last two-parter where we had to go back to the future again because he's like, it didn't work.
Okay,
but we don't have to go. We don't go straight to the past yet. First, I think Plato should take us to go and visit the currently living ancient tree, who will tell us a little story. And then, I don't know, partway through the story, we can kind of just have like a dream transition where we wind up in the past, but we're actually in the past, and we just looked at Plato and he's like, just keep listening. Look around.
Now, for the sake of a couple jokes at the same time, I just made a joke in the chat saying that it was because it was an old tree talking to its grandchildren. I said it's an old Peter Falk tree talking to a little what's his name, Fred Savage tree. But because we do it kind of sketch show style, and some of our cast shows up in some of our performances, is Columbo dressed as a tree doing the Peter Falk Columbo voice as the old man as a tree?
You mean like it's like a tree costume with his face sticking out of the trunk?
Yeah.
And his arms are up as the branches. That's pretty funny. That's really funny, so long as it's still a tree, or at least mostly a tree, because we still need to go talk to this elder tree.
That's true. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how I want to play that. Maybe that can be a separate thing.
Oh, well, there's always the possibility that Plato takes us to talk to this tree, and one of us is like, "What? A talking tree? That never works out." And then we have to smash cut to that time Columbo was a talking tree.
Oh, okay, cool.
Because that way he doesn't have to be that particular talking tree, but we can still include him as a talking tree with a smash cut. You know I love smash cut.
Or maybe we go to the tree and say, "So tell us your story," and the camera cuts to the tree, and a story starts in Columbo's voice, and then the camera shoots over to Columbo, who's like there, and we're like, "Columbo, what are you doing here?" It's like a misdirect. You think the tree is talking, but Columbo's there, and he has some. It's just a coincidence. He has some other story going on, or he tagged along because he wanted to.
Visual aid, boys. This tree doesn't have a mouth.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's probably something
I
we
speak
should
for the
consider.
trees. Whose line is that?
Oh,
I speak for the trees.
I think that was the Lorax.
Oh yeah, it is.
Oh, great! Now we're bringing Dr. Seuss into this.
That would be kind of cute if we're like, I think this tree can speak for itself, and then it turns out that the tree can speak for itself, and Columbo goes, "Oh, well then," and then he grabs his butt and lifts himself up and flies away into the sky like the Lorax.
Yeah, that's probably a fair cop. I speak for the trees, and then the tree's like, I can speak for myself. Doesn't even need anybody to advocate for its ability to speak. It just outright declares that it can speak for itself, and its voice is suspiciously similar to Columbo's.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And Columbo says, "Okay, I was just here for the bit, anyways."
And then he just goes, "Yep," and then he's gone, and that's it. But I still have to do the Columbo voice because the tree is talking in his voice now.
Yeah, I guess. Yep, that's how it works. And then I'll just pitch that down like one tone, so it's not like drop low, but it just sounds different.
Right on.
Okay, so the tree is going to tell us its story. Okay, how do we want to? What is its current plight? Does it have something to do with global warming?
Oh, probably it probably has some ecological concern that has prompted it to start telling story time. There's definitely a little sapling there too.
You know what? I almost supported the human revolt in the beginning, but who knew that they'd just keep expanding?
Oh, interesting. Was this tree a human sympathizer at one point?
I had not considered the idea that there would be, but that is sort of interesting.
There are always sympathizers, so you know.
And it's kind of, and it's not exactly the same, but it's also sort of like the Onceler in the Lorax, who was like the one that caused the deforestation, but it like stayed behind to atone for it. I guess it's sort of an inverse.
Yeah, because he supporting humanity now he's just like living in permanent punishment.
Well, unless it not what only was he a sympathizer, but like a what's the word?
A turncoat?
Yeah.
Do you think this tree would actually betray the other trees?
I don't know. That's interesting. People are capable of betraying other people. Are trees capable of betraying other trees? Do we want to say that that's part of their culture?
Oh, well, if we're going to say that the trees have human levels of intelligence, then they definitely have human levels of moral culpability and weakness.
Interesting. Because I guess that would come into, if they were capable of domestication in the first place, they would have kind of like a sliding scale of morality.
Whoop, I froze for a sec, but I did hear the sliding scale of morality. So yeah, they would have their own culture going on. So there would definitely be trees capable of sympathizing with these domesticated humans, and of course with siding against their fellow trees in some kind of potential revolution.
So all of that being said, I kind of like it's interesting to have brought the idea up, but at the same time, this character I think probably does need to be as sympathetic as possible. Does it remain that way if it is living with regrets, or if we immediately present it as the most sympathetic as possible and more like grandfather tree?
Well, I do think grandfather tree sympathizer is more sympathetic than grandfather tree traitor.
Right.
So maybe he was a sympathizer, but didn't come out actually commit like all out treason. He just didn't stand in humanity's way.
And now it regrets that it had. Does it necessarily regret? It just sees. It recognizes that there is human overpopulation and that the human revolt has led to the abuse of its tree brethren.
Well, yeah, it's It's basically an ongoing ecological train wreck. He probably sees it as almost just the exact same situation from another direction, but now even worse.
Oh, I guess so. Because if he was sympathizing with humans back in the day, that was because he saw some sort of injustice being perpetrated by the trees back then, which he didn't agree with and wanted social change. And so that's why he was a human sympathizer. But now he's like, I see now that it all ends up the same. But that I don't want that to be our lesson.
No, that doesn't have to be where it ends, though. That's basically just where the story begins.
Right, true.
It's like it looks a lot like it used to. What
Oh
do you
yeah, we
mean,
would
Grandpa Tree?
we would have to have a what do you mean? Yeah.
And
Before.
and then yeah, it looks this modern day looks a lot like it used to in the old days. And then that's how we begin our story of the like the planet-wide domestication of people, like everywhere. Because plants have some kind of communication network where they're able to coordinate, and basically all of them domesticate humans at once. So everywhere that humans are at the time, they're being domesticated.
Okay, now do we do this grand and cinematic as an intro? Because when you said in the old days, I imagined like a scene change, a ripple, and a dream effect, and
Oh yeah,
going to that
yeah.
time.
That's the perfect time for the dream shift to go back.
And then during that dream shift, as we're seeing images of what that time was like, maybe that is with like voiceover from the tree describing it.
Yeah,
Because ultimately we still do have to go back to that time. So we see a little bit of it as it's like described and presented, and then we I guess what's the word, pop the dream balloon and go, hey, but wait a minute, doesn't that blah 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 blah? Well, Plato thinks that if we go back, etc.
well, yeah, and I think part way through the sort of dream transition sequence, we kind of just end up going right back, and the voiceover continues, even though we're back in back in the past.
So well, okay, I was so even though we're back in the past, it's cutting to dream sequence with narration.
The way I think of it is that it originally starts with the dream sequence transition, and then like it's got this sort of foggy border and all that to kind of just suggest that it's a dream sequence. But then that foggy border actually pops, and we realize that we've actually gone back in time thanks to Plato. But the voiceover from the tree is still being told.
Oh, okay, I like that. So we've gone back in time thanks to Plato. Is the tree with us?
Only in spirit, it's still talking.
Would it be funny to carry it around in a big pot?
This has got to be a really big tree.
Yeah, I know, it's gigantic.
Maybe we took a clipping of the tree and it's talking to us through the clipping.
But I like what you're describing because it's a level beyond what I was originally imagining. I like the idea that we're already there because that's a convenient way of skipping having to have a scene where we go through some sort of time travel process.
Oh yeah, I just wanted us to realize, wait, this isn't a dream sequence. We're actually here.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
great. And then we have our scene where we try to interact. We're like, wow, cool. And we try to walk up to a human who's, as I said, pulling a till. Is that what you imagine? Where are we when we're in this?
Oh yeah, I imagine that like a human is actually wearing a lot of the same gear that you would see oxen wearing once upon a time.
Precisely, yeah.
So yeah, and it might be funny if that human is also on all fours, because I'm not sure how something that's bipedal with such a high center of gravity could pull one of those things correctly without getting low.
Yeah, you'd have to be at a pretty extreme angle. They're at like ski jumping angles.
Yeah, either you're leaning forward or you're on all fours. And if you're leaning forward, you can't stop. You just keep going.
But I do like the
But
idea of all the humans walking around with like leather straps and like bits in their mouths and whatnot.
oh yeah, they definitely have bits. They don't, or maybe they're all ball gagged. No talking.
The classic.
Yeah. So that's where those were invented.
The plants are just like, yeah, we found that they made a lot of noise.
I believe it. Humans are the noisiest thing I've ever encountered.
I was just watching, before I came down, I was watching a bunch of sovereign citizen court cam videos.
Oh my gosh, those are always such a dumpster fire.
It's just it's so funny to watch how entitled people are. Speaking of going way back to a conversation about entitled people, most of those people are boomers.
Not that we have anything against boomers.
No, we have everything against everybody in equal amounts, but when they compare themselves to each other and think one is less one thing or more one thing than the other, I think that's entertaining.
It definitely is that. And every sovereign citizen case I've ever heard of has been a complete travesty, just super embarrassing to be the same species as them.
I am not a person.
I don't want to be after watching one of those.
No kidding. Okay, so we have Industry Plants is the title, and they have created industry. But yeah, not super far along. How far along are they? I can't remember if we'd said how much.
Well, it's agrarian. It's not actually industrial, so they don't have like smokestacks and stuff. They're not doing the polluting, the big scale polluting,
right.
which at the very least does paint humanity as the villains. Which I mean, we are definitely at the very least. What the current state is massively an overcorrection from our revolution in the past.
Sure. I was just trying to find out if you had made any reference, because I feel like there were specific words, but yeah, we don't need all the specific words. We're talking about it now, in the moment. I am present.
In the heat of the moment. All right, so we're back in time. We're witnessing an agrarian society. There are, I guess they're not mobile trees, but like they happen to have been planted next to these fields of wheat.
Oh, and so how about for the narration? Because we are having all of this described to us by the tree. Do we have those little single one speaker things that you hold to your ear for like a museum tour or like a walkie-talkie? I don't know.
You mean for our tour in the past?
No, for a while, yeah, for our tour in the past, we're going with Plato, but I believe you said that we would still be hearing it narrated by the tree.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, we can take a little speaker, or we can take an actual little clipping of the tree through which it continues to talk to us. Like one of us just like holds the end of one of his small branches with a couple of leaves on it.
That's awesome. Yeah, like a little collection of twigs or a little leaf or something like that.
Yeah, just like a twig with a couple of leaves on it through which it still, manages to talk to us.
A little Groot.
I don't know, maybe it's a telepathic. Yeah, exactly. Maybe it's a telepathic tree or something, so it doesn't really need a mouthpiece. It just needs a physical presence there.
Right, I like that, yeah.
So yeah, we're walking around with that, and we try to interact with something. What do you suppose we would try to interact with? If we're going to try and grab a piece of farm equipment, it's going to have to be something that's currently unmanned.
I don't know. One of us runs up to one of the humans, is like, "Do you remember when we met Miranda?" And we're like, "What?" And then we try to tip the guy. We try to tip him. We try to tip a human cow.
Then you're going to tip him.
Right, yeah.
You tipped Miranda.
Right. I have the animation cut out already.
Poor Miranda.
She has a lot of drama in her life.
Yeah, well, someone had to tell her not to have such a cow.
Don't have a cow, man. The white van comes and takes us away.
Yep, that was it. There was a counter for how many times that joke can be used in human history, and we just clocked up the OD on it. It went from 9999999 all the way back to 0, and they came to get us.
Well, I'm putting that in it now. that is occurring, and then it just immediately cuts to us dusting ourselves off and coming the same way that we immediately escaped the kidnapping. We didn't immediately escape the kidnapping.
We kind of just like washed our hands of the situation, though. We're like, nope, that's not happening. So we just like
right, yeah,
as if we would be allowed to just leave, but we did.
We can have something similar to that here, where we get kidnapped, but the van comes back again. But this time, it is the Fox van. It was the Fox van last time. I can't remember if we actually did meet Joshua.
No, but I think we found. I think I suggested that we found the face blur just like on the floor of the van. So
right.
Been there. He's gone. No, he's still MIA.
Anyways, we don't get kid. We escape or whatever.
Yeah, somehow the van manages to come back in time to screw with our afternoon, and we're not having any of that because we're on an educational adventure. So we don't have time for their shenanigans. We just free ourselves and dust ourselves off, and the van is gone.
Okay, that's good. And so ultimately, I guess we are here just to as a tour and to learn because we can't interact with anything. We aren't going to have any particular. This is just to this. The bits are gonna have to come from the tour.
Yeah, for sure. Is it possible that when we arrive, the humans aren't gagged and they're actually singing a song, or is that a little too real?
When we get there, the humans aren't gagged and they're singing a song. Are they like in what sense? They're not working. This is their free time.
No, they're working. They're tilling the field. They're
Oh,
they're singing mid labor.
that makes me a little bit. That makes me a little bit uncomfortable.
Okay, good. Me too.
I
That's
feel
why
like I feel like that has a very specific like intonation.
I think so too. But at the same time, these people are definitely slaves.
Man,
Tough,
what to do with
but it,
that?
it makes me uncomfortable too, which is why I asked.
It would be fun. It
But
would
but
be.
then it
It
would be
would.
it would be an opportunity for a scene where all of these people just like really quickly get gagged, where we get to see them
If
get gagged.
if these are white people who are the slaves, and we can make a joke about like they're either singing barbershop quartet music or they're doing I don't know something they're
See,
singing.
that's what I was going for. Is I wanted it to be something that had absolutely no association with it, barbershop quartet type thing. That
This
would
is
have
an
been
update.
funny.
This is sort of an update on the beginning of Blazing Saddles.
But I also don't know if these ancient humans shouldn't kind of be ethnically ambiguous.
Yeah, I guess they would have. Interesting. Maybe the tree could give us some sort of like lore reason for why that is until until humans did revolt before humans. They're pre-racial humans.
That was kind of what I was going for.
Okay, I do kind of like that.
That they hadn't quite differentiated yet.
So they're all just gray.
Do you really think we all came gray originally? I'm pretty sure
No,
we just came like various shades of tan.
yeah, I do think tan. Oh, interesting. Could these
In
humans?
fact, these humans should look very similar to the future humans in that episode of South Park where everybody started running out of jobs and people started coming back in time to get jobs, to send money into the future.
Right.
Because everybody had kind of. This is post-racial humans, so they're all one race again. Like there's only one ethnicity and it's a blend, and they were all tan. I think pre-racial humans would probably look a lot like that too.
It does make sense to me that eventually, if everybody just fucks each other enough, there kind of will just be kind of like one kind of common ground of tan.
Well, yeah, it's probably an inevitability. That's why I called it post-racial.
Yeah. I was gonna say because we were toying with the premise of the not monolithic, wrong word, Paleolithic, Unga Bunga types, and maybe these humans, after they initially revolt, a couple years in the future, we can catch up with them when they are Unga Bunga types.
Wait, are they singing a barbershop quartet when we first find them, and then later they've actually degenerated from that?
Oh, you're right. I don't know. That's a totally separate thing because you
No,
also
it
said
would
something.
would be pretty funny if they sang in perfect harmony and
Oh,
like even had
when
like
they
a
were captive.
yeah, and complete with a little dance number.
As
And
though
and
captivity was
then
actually good for them.
I don't want to go down that line. That sounds scary now that I think about it. Humans, it's good. It's good for them to be in captivity. Okay, Loki.
But you also said that the whole thing that you had attached an idea to the human problem thing where it was a tabletop game with an RTS, and I do like the idea of making a video game. So maybe we can come back around to that later. I don't know, but as it is, do we like Barbershop Quartet or something a little bit more modern that's very hokey and awful?
No, I think old-fashioned and hokey and awful is the right way to go. And
Okay.
and if we're going to try to go away from Sweet Chariot, then we want something that is just like something just for fun, which is barbershop quartet stuff,
Right.
like purely for the sake of levity. And if there's anything that would be super inappropriate for a bunch of like prehistory enslaved humans to do, it would probably be a barbershop quartet song.
Is it a barbershop quartet song of a 2000s pop hit? Like, is it a rendition of something modern?
Interesting. For a minute, I almost thought that they should all get together and do Mr. Sandman. Bring me a dream.
With a complexion like cookies and cream?
Are we gonna do? We have to write our own lyrics too? Oh man, I guess we do.
Oh, yeah, we probably would have to.
We have to start a barbershop quartet song from scratch. Okay, well, it's only going to be a couple of lines before some kind of tree authority comes out and gags everybody anyway.
It's sort of funny that the second result when I search for barbershop quartet is Never Gonna Give You Up by the Barbershop Harmony Society.
I have a feeling that the Rickroll is a very popular search result for just about any search you could possibly put in there.
Oh, yeah, I bet you, yeah.
Because I cannot tell you how many times I have sent people to it. Just kind of pretending that it linked to something else. I'm guilty of that for sure.
Present to you what I consider the best Rickroll prank that I could have conceived of.
Todd's microphone started acting a little funny for a moment, so I will catch you up with the Sparks notes. Todd once worked in a pub with a woman who owned an iPod full of indie rock. One day, she left said iPod at the pub overnight. Now back to Todd.
And so I took her iPod home, and it was unlocked, and I copied her entire library over into a folder, the library on the iPod, and replaced it to the track. Every single track I replaced with a copy of Never Gonna Give You Up, and I used a batch editing software program to alter the metadata for every track to replace it with the metadata for the library that she already had, so that when she would go to the album and the track title and every single one of it, no matter what she searched for, it all looked as though it did before, but no matter what she went to, it was going to play a copy of Never Gonna Give You Up.
I would say that is a solid 9 out of 10. That is the kind of thing that would get me to smash an iPod with a hammer.
She was very confused. It was good.
Yeah.
And the bar crowd was frustrated.
Well, no shit. Everybody would have been pretty upset. In fact, that's how you get a complete stranger to smash your iPod with a hammer.
See, that was my version of the What's Up Pussycat 75 times in a row.
Now, my current Rickroll scheme is actually in the form of a picture, and I'm going to show it to you, and I need you to grade it.
Okay. But you sell an NFT for $8.5 million, then it turns out to be a Rickroll.
I wish I was that clever.
I tried to look up how to make NFTs, and I don't get it.
It doesn't make any sense, but I posted the picture. That is my current Rickroll plan.
Tucker shares an image with Todd depicting an essay on Niels Bohr that contains an acrostic Rickroll.
Oh, I like these, yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
So I'm like, here's an awesome picture. You've never seen anything like this. And it's true. They haven't.
This reminds me of a thing, though. Wasn't there a thing where somebody wrote a letter where they were like quitting their job, and it had a message which was like, "Fuck you, people." I mean, what is this called? Acrostic?
I don't know what it's called, but every single line is a closed sentence, and every single first word in every single line forms a secondary message going all the way down.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, I like it a lot. That's my current one because it's a little too obvious to just link them to YouTube videos now.
Yeah, so many years have gone by.
Yeah, but no matter how many years go by, I'm never going to give you up.
I mean, yeah, I guess that's true virality.
Okay, so the lads on the field just started singing their barbershop quartet. They get through about a line and a half to 2 lines of it before I don't know if it's going to be like a humanoid plant or just like probably creeper vines come from like one side of the screen, just from who knows where, and shove gags into all their mouths. So they've got gags now connected to their bits.
Okay, yeah.
That way we don't have to write a whole song. We just have to have it just like a real brief introduction and now everybody's back to working in silence.
Is it a happy song?
Oh yeah, it's got to be super happy. It's got to be upbeat and like levity. The subject matter has to be like farcical and silly and fun. Proper barbershop quartet stuff. Like the less appropriate is to be sang during like prehistorical slave labor time is that better. The better.
Right, okay. They get gagged.
Yeah, and then we kind of see what because at first we think that they're having a great time. They look like they're just like carrying on having fun because the song is so fun.
Oh, we have a little moment of this doesn't. It's a Simpsons thing. It's a Simpsons bit. This doesn't look so bad. Immediately is bad.
Exactly, and then it's awful, and those very same creeper vines that shove the gags into their mouths and their bits and stuff probably starts whipping them. Like that, you
Starts
don't
whipping
even
'em,
need
yeah.
tools. You just have the creeper vines. Whatever plant is responsible, its arms are the whips.
And yeah, so sort of whipping them gets them hooked up to the till. The whole process, we suddenly realize, oh, the humans
Yeah,
are having a
it's
great time.
probably like, oh,
Tugging on our collars.
yeah, kind of sweat. You're like, oh, I don't want to look at this anymore. And then old Grandpa Tree confirms that it was a terrible despotic regime.
So you can see why I was sympathetic.
Yeah, I'm sympathetic, and I'm human. I know these people. The fucker guy over there owes me $5.
And so at this point, do I go, okay, so wait a minute. I get how this was bad. So what am I supposed to be learning from this?
That's probably a good question because then we can actually start cutting to the lesson part.
Right.
So is it Plato or Grandpa Tree who wants to explain what that particular lesson is about?
I guess, yeah, Plato could take over. I think this is where, if we are going to do it as a lesson thing, this is where Plato could do a bit of a Ms. Frizzle moment. Because she, obviously, her thing was always making the kids learn for themselves from experiencing it happen. But she would have a moment where she would at least give a little bit of context for what they were going to be learning.
That she does. And Plato is here to be our source of exposition and context.
So should we have a moment a little bit earlier on before we even meet the tree? We should have a Todd moment or whoever, maybe even Cody. Because somebody has to demonstrate some sort of ignorance. As we had proposed, the initial idea was we were talking about pipelines and global warming, and Todd's position being like, oh, well, I don't give a fuck about global warming. The faster the globe warms up, the sooner humans will go extinct or whatever. And then having to have it pointed out that is a little bit ignorant, and it goes a little bit deeper than that. And the earth can't actually like die. There can be dead. And so maybe if some sort of ignorance is expressed a little bit earlier in our episode, this is where we come to the lesson that what I need to learn from you. How would you phrase it in the chat? Labor practices combined with?
Well, yeah, unsustainable labor practices.
Okay, so I guess my question that would require the lesson would be when the tree was telling us about how everything is the same now. I would say, well, then what's the fucking point if it's the same either way?
But I do know what point that Plato is going to decide that we need to have a lesson. There, some point while watching the Magic School Bus, somebody has to mention, climate change and ecological damage and the danger in the future. And that's when Todd will be like, "Oh, that's nonsense. The faster all of that happens, the faster it'll just shake humanity off, and everything will be fine." And then that's when Plato can come on in and Doc Brown us.
Okay.
Because then it's kind of established right at the beginning of the episode.
Right. Okay.
And then once we start looking at, first of all, the dangerously cyclical nature of things when everybody refuses to change. Problems just keep happening again, which is kind of what it is there. Where this is one form. What?
It was sorry. That was the prolonged vocal fry, which might have sounded overly sexual, but I didn't mean to.
Okay.
I had a revelation though. I think I know what the lesson that needs to be learned is.
Lay it on me.
Rather than one of them dominating the other, the humans and the plants need to learn how to collaborate.
Oh, we need A harmonious coexistence.
We need to work together to help us meet both of our find the
Everybody's needs. But yeah, failure to harmoniously coexist is exactly what led to both circumstances in either extreme.
Right. We need to think of the humans more like plants, and they need to think of us. Oh no, we need to think. Jesus.
Plants are people.
Yeah, we need to think of the plants more like people, and the plants need to think of us more like plants, because we are actually, in fact, very similar to each other.
Oh yeah, well, where are my chloroplasts then?
Yeah, that's one of the big main ones that is not similar.
I'm glad. I don't want to go lay out in the sun all day just to like have a little bit of food.
No, instead you have to go out and find the food that became food by sitting out in the sun.
Yeah, well, there is an order of operations to this, and I eat the food that plants created out of themselves by photosynthesis. Look, I didn't pay attention to in science class a whole lot.
So we can't go too deep. We're not, like we said, we're not here to actually educate. And actually, to that end, does this whole thing end up getting subverted because we say we need to learn to collaborate, and so we come together to truly dominate the crustaceans?
Oh yeah, definitely. That would be the kind of perfectly cartoonishly human takeaway. Is that plants and humanity just like unite to dominate another life form.
We all sit down to a lobster dinner.
Suddenly, crustaceans and general sea life are our slaves, and we're growing fields of seaweed, and it's just looks like we're gonna do this we're gonna need a few more iterations before we get this right.
Is there a proper term for overfishing?
Yeah, I think it's overfishing.
Okay, as the episode is as we're talking about saving the plants and saving the humans, there's a group of fish that are like, wait, what about overfishing? And then they all get shoved under the water.
Do they get shoved in the water, or do they get pulled out of the water in like a big fish net?
Oh yeah, that would make more sense. They're underwater saying, what about overfishing? But as soon as they get pulled into air, they can't talk anymore.
Yeah, just gasp and flop.
Oh, Jesus.
And then I guess we all sit down to a nice fish dinner. And Plato's like, "Yeah, this is gonna take a couple of additional lessons."
Well, it's not a platonic ideal.
Oh, maybe he needs a catchphrase like that.
I mean, it might end up being something like that, since I think our intention is to end up subverting every lesson we learn, anyways.
Yeah, we'll explore the absolute most shallow avenues of the issue. And then the boys will draw all the wrong conclusions, and then we'll go on. The whole point is that we're supposed to be kind of showing that their conclusions are wrong. That means that we're not supporting their conclusions; they're choosing the wrong ones, and we're trying to say that those are the wrong ones.
Oh, your catchphrase is that?
That seems
highly unlikely, and his is, well, that's not very realistic.
Now,
because wasn't his thing realism?
Wow, I don't know. He liked the ideal.
Right.
The form. The ideal form. The form of a chair. Oh man, I had to listen to so many lectures about the form of a chair and the form of a table.
I don't know anything about any of those. The form of a chair and the form of a table, that is all I know is this is not a pipe.
The platonic ideal of the form of the chair. The sort of primordial sort of the progenitor of all other chairs. There's just like this one perfect sort of ideal chair that exists in the human psyche, and that all other chairs are based on it.
Oh, I get it. Matter versus mind stuff.
It was metaphysics class. That's where all the forms come from. And I didn't like metaphysics very much. Are you a brain in a vat? No. Why don't you eat my entire ass?
What is that from? That sounds Futurama.
Brains and Vats was Hilary Putnam, and that was just a more modern incarnation of Rene Descartes' evil demon.
Oh yeah.
The whole
I get
it. How do you believe your senses are correct? All of this could just be sensory information that is being fed into you through wires and all that. The reality is we could all be just brains and vats. And the thing to do is say, who cares if we're all brains and vats? If we are, then living our lives as normal is still no cost. Whereas if we're not, believing that we're brains and vats and not living our lives is severe cost. So that one's easy to deal with.
Should we come across a brain in a vat at some point?
Only if Plato sneers at it. We're not going to look at that. We're not going to talk about that.
Oh, maybe when we do, I don't know if do you like the idea of the doing the no exit, the hell is other people thing? Maybe when we do hell is other people, one of the other people we get stuck with is a brain in a vat. Plato hates it.
I mean, Plato would hate it for sure. But I'm okay with it, though. It has like a little speaker that it's connected to, and it talks out of it.
With Craig's voice, and Craig is also hates it.
Oh, absolutely, Craig has to hate it.
But returning to this story,
Yes.
where were we even? We were learning our lesson, I think.
We just realized that, in fact, these people are enslaved by these plants, and we did the Simpson moment where it didn't look so bad, and then suddenly it's really bad. I don't believe we managed to come up with a comment after that.
No, I think we were just uncomfortable.
Yeah, tugging on our shirt collars, and then we kind of probably get walked away. And this is where old Grandpa Tree says, and you can see now why I was sympathetic to their plight.
Do we have an immediate, or do we have more of a what's it called? Rejection of the call or whatever? Like we deny it. We see that first piece of evidence, and we're like, oh, we try to make excuses for it. We try to rationalize it. Oh, that could just be. That's obviously, I don't know. We try to end because we need to see one more scene of how it's occurring, maybe, or do we push the story forward and the tree says, so you can see now. We're convinced.
No, I think you're right. I think we probably would initially reject this because this is plants domesticating people. That's ridiculous. That's nonsense.
Yeah,
we reject.
They're obviously have.
This is either a weird party gone wrong.
Or, this is obviously a sex party.
These are sex people, like Alan
these are sex perverts. Yeah.
This is obviously some kind of weird sex thing. Look at the ball gags. Look,
ball gags and whips. Yeah.
Yeah. So no, this is an isolated thing, and so we're gonna have to be led somewhere else to see another instance where there are humans that are carefully planting wheat seeds or something. They're planting wheat. Yeah. See, look, they're farming, not for themselves.
I get. Are we doing it in threes? We see the. See, I see they're farming, not for themselves. And then we go to something
to the trees at all. Like they wouldn't do it if it wasn't useful. They're throwing out the humans that are too old to properly.
Well, I mean, humans
just like tossing them.
Humans eat plants, so would it make sense that there are plants that eat humans, and then some that are like, I'm vegetarian?
Oh well, they do. There are carnivorous plants, so that's definitely possible. We can have a prehistoric "Feed me, Seymour," a gargantuan man-eating plant.
There's a couple of them because there's the fly traps, and there's also the ones that like melt you.
Yeah, those they just kind of catch you in like a drum.
Yeah,
and the old humans that are kind of being mercifully put down now that they're no longer capable of real labor, they're getting just like tossed into the pitcher plants or getting tossed to the giant carnivorous bitey plants. I definitely wanted to say, "Feed me, Seymour."
Yeah, I was trying to figure out a way to work in a Shop of Horrors one earlier, especially when you were saying creeping vines. I was like, maybe their boss is the Feed Me Seymour. What was it called? Audrey? Is that its name? Audrey 2.
What's Audrey 1?
I think that was the first plant that it died or something like that.
Okay, well, this is Audrey 1.
That is funny.
Either that or some kind of prehistoric sounding name that sounds like Audrey.
Oh, Audrey. Audrey is the woman he has a crush on, who he's like simping over, and then he names the plant after her.
That's embarrassing.
Yeah.
Feed me, Seymour. So yeah, the second scene is a brief interlude where we see humans carefully planting fresh seeds, but like we mistakenly believe that they're just farming, which is something we would expect prehistorical humans to be doing, like sowing seeds. This is normal. This is not weird to us. We need to visually make it clear that these seeds that they're planting are not for human benefit. This is like a nursery for plants that's just being cared for by human slaves.
Do they take us to show us what humans are given to eat? This is what humans eat.
Yeah, that's probably how that should be.
Does that look like something that grows out of the ground?
Oh, it's Soylent Green.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, they feed us to us and they feed us to each other. Why wouldn't they?
Why wouldn't they?
Beautiful. Okay, well. Lovely.
Yeah, this isn't for them. This is not what humans get to eat. And then we get to it. There's like a little lineup of humans with soup bowls, and they're getting fed. Yeah,
Now do you see why I was sympathetic?
and then the final scene, of course, is humans aren't just fed to each other; they're also fed to us. And then we see like a bunch of humans, like an entire bucket full of. This is a big bucket, by the way. Just imagine.
Like a KFC bucket?
Yeah, an entire bucket of people, old and like worked to death and stuff, being dropped into a gargantuan pitcher plant, which I don't know, maybe it has like a visual belly rumble, like Homer's does. So it's a very hungry pitcher plant, and then there's another where they're being tossed into the air like they're shot put right into the open mouth of the prehistoric Audrey. So not only are humans fed to each other, they're also fed directly to the plants. Starting to sound like a PETA ad.
The stem of the plant with a human-shaped lump in it?
Yeah, like that scene from the first Anaconda movie.
Yeah. Okay, and so now we are sold. We're like, okay, we get it.
Yeah, okay, great. Prehistory is a complete nightmare shithole. Lesson learned. And they're like, no, that's not quite the lesson.
Yeah, that's not the lesson. I do that. Take us home. Okay, we learned. We're crying.
Yeah, we don't want to learn anymore. This is too much.
There was never chopped up humans at my old school. They never chopped up humans.
And then Carlos makes fun of that guy. Low-key bullies him.
Carlos. Good observation, Dorothy Ann. I couldn't remember her name.
And then Carlos gets fed to the plant. All right.
That'd be funny if the humans that got dumped into the plant were the kids from the Magic School Bus.
I don't know if all of them should, but one of them should be among those that get tossed to the giant flytrap thing. And I think the giant flytrap thing should actually like have a long enough neck that it can snap like a snake does.
Okay.
So they get like lobbed into the air, and this thing snatches them.
I do like the idea that Carlos is there to make like a one-liner and everybody groans as they die.
Aww. Oh, yeah, they're all inside of the pitcher plant, and they groan from the inside.
Oh, it's muffled.
Yeah, it sounds like it's coming from inside of like a really, really, really old piece of pottery, like a giant clay pot that has a bunch of these kids inside it.
That is funny to me.
And then he gets tossed to what I want to call a piranha plant.
And we say, okay, lesson learned. We have the whole process. No, that's not the lesson.
Lesson learned. Plants are terrible, and we definitely should have revolted and enslaved them instead.
We're like pulling on like we support deforestation hats.
Suddenly we hate plants in general.
Burn the Amazon.
Yeah, slash and burn. One hat. Another hat, it just says pollute.
With a big thumbs up.
Yeah, it's just... We've become anti-environmentalist because holy shit, plants are a nightmare.
And Plato says, no, that's not the lesson. And we're like, whew, we take all the clothes off. We weren't looking forward to having an opinion.
Yeah, in the future, it's even more dangerous to have an opinion than it is to be a human in this time.
Whew, that felt like it was going to take a lot of work.
Well, yeah, once you pick a position, you have to. It's your hill to die on. Apparently.
And now I got to go to church every week.
Pretty much. Okay, fine, Plato. What's our actual lesson? And then what follows is some kind of diatribe about how humanity was just as bad from a different direction later on, if not worse. And the problem was that it was always one group taking advantage of the other group instead of, coexisting in a sort of cooperative.
So do we come to the conclusion then? We're sitting there tapping our chins and going, oh, so you're saying maybe we should work together. And they're sitting there nodding emphatically. And then does it immediately cut to us supremacy over the lobsters?
I don't know if we should come to the correct conclusion so much as Plato has to include it like as the conclusion of his little speech. And then we're like, are you sure? Because that plant just ate the magic school bus. Like we needed,
yeah, I guess we need to push back.
We needed a good amount of convincing to believe that plants were bad at all, And now that we believe that plants are bad, are we really ready to just drop that again?
So should we incorporate the cloud bubble imagining thing a little bit and have us describe? We're sitting there. Do we play 21? Not necessarily 21 questions, but we're guessing at what the lesson is. Oh, so you're saying, and we say a couple wrong things before Plato's like, no, let me get to the point.
Okay, and I think I like that. And our suggestions should range from wrong to even more wrong to why the hell would you think that ever for any reason?
Just something totally unrelated.
Yeah, like something awful. So what you're saying is we should go back to eating other people. No. Obviously, the lesson here is that humans and plants need each other. It's not just mutual coexistence. It's mutual need. It's mutual cannot exist without the other. They're like it's humans and plants together or neither. And then we start getting the light bulbs going off, and then we're going to proceed to a horrible human plant alliance where we totally dominate sea life.
Poor sea life. Poor ocean.
Yeah, well, once humanity and these evil plants get their hands on it, yeah, poor anything. But that's an opportunity for the fish scene. They're like, wait a minute, what about us? What about overfishing? And then that's just when it gets pulled up out of the sea, and then suddenly fish are being dumped into the pitcher plant and fed to the piranha plant, and we're eating the fish. So
I do like that. Yeah.
suddenly plants and humans are working together because they've designated a common enemy for themselves, a common target to take advantage of. Because the real answer, at least my takeaway personally, is that humans, plants, fish, they're all pretty awful, aren't they?
Yeah. Have you ever seen one of those mantis shrimps?
What I really like is those shrimp that punch you.
Yeah, that's the one, I think.
Is it? I thought that was a trigger shrimp or something.
Oh, I don't know if they're different. The one that makes the little supersonic boom?
Yeah, the trigger like he's got this little arm and it's wound up so tight that it actually makes the water boil because it
Yeah.
goes through it so fast. That little asshole. Those are scary, but
That's just
they're
crazy.
not as scary as anglerfish and their stupid luring light headpiece and their horrifying mouth. And then there's goblin sharks. Are you kidding me? These things are even worse than our worst nightmares about plants, and very clearly we need to start systematically taking over the ocean and killing the terrible things and eating anything that's okay.
All of those depth lurkers. I was listening to, as part of Skankfest, they did a roast of Louis J. Gomez, in which they had a couple of decent modern contemporary stand-ups on, but they had Zach. Oh, I'm gonna forget his name now. Zach Amico, who is one of Louis J. Gomez's little circle guys, and he's a big, overweight gentleman with pride-colored hair dyed in spikes and ridiculous glasses and face piercings and tattoos and whatnot.
Wow!
And so,
you ever see somebody whose entire appearance just kind of screams, "I sure need a lot of attention"?
I need a lot of attention. Oh, did you look up a picture?
No, I'm just
just based off the
visualizing
description.
I'm visualizing it, and I'm like, oh my god, here's what
Yeah.
you always wanted, and I just give him 2 handfuls of attention.
A big attention seeker. But anyways, he's up there, and somebody, I can't remember who it was that was roasting him, but was talking about like, yeah, Zach has been kind of unlucky in love lately. We've talked about that before. I don't think we should make fun of him though. You know, they say there's a lot of fish in the sea, but Zach's problem is that he dwells at the bottom of it.
That's pretty good. Now you got to just attach that little light thing to his head. It'd be fine.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, some of that deep sea stuff, you don't even have to make it up. It's already an eldritch nightmare. Like some of that stuff must not have been discovered until after Lovecraft died. But if he knew about it, he would have died earlier because he'd have killed himself.
I'm curious to know what that man was like as a human being.
Extremely awkward, extremely withdrawn, aloof, highly racist, and probably creepy when it came to sex stuff.
Yeah, I can see that. Writers and
Yeah,
their
those
sex stuff.
fucking writers and their disgusting sex stuff. Probably really interested in feet and buttocks. Disgusting. I can already feel everybody pulling away from me.
I'm not pulling away. I was trying to remember Chuck Palahniuk's story about. I feel like he was like in the room when his dad got murdered with a shotgun or something.
Brutal. What's that got to do with weird sex stuff? Well,
Oh,
wait.
I mean,
Never mind. I don't want to know at all what the weird sex stuff conclusions of that are.
well, I mean, I feel like a lot of Chuck Palahniuk's writing is about weird sex stuff, and I was trying to draw the parallel between trauma and weird sex stuff.
Oh yeah, that trauma has it. It is like girded in steel. It is super well established, and I believe in it. Trauma leads to weird sex stuff because everything leads to sex stuff, and trauma leads to weird stuff. And if everything leads to sex stuff, and trauma immediately leads to weird stuff, then that means then this is a mathematical fact.
Well, this is the
Quote
MC
me.
Escher drawing we were talking about before.
It means that trauma leads to weird sex stuff. That's just simple math. But also, I was really bad at math, and still am. So don't quote my math on that one.
Yeah, just wait until the math episode.
That one is going to either be really short or really long, because either everybody's going to try and fail to teach me math over and over again, or they're going to realize that it can't be done and give up.
Euclid tries to visit Plato and he just ghosts him.
Did Plato care about geometry at all?
I don't know. It'd be kind of funny if Plato was kind of a hippie, though, and he was into sacred geometry.
Man, we're going to make fun of a lot of people this season.
I mean, by the end, I don't know when this whole series is going to end, but I kind of hope that as many people are made fun of as possible by the end of it, especially if it has to do with believing in anything.
Oh, yeah. And also, if we also made sure not to discriminate, because we made fun of the people that don't believe in anything. So I think we're okay to start making fun of everybody who believes in anything at that point.
Yeah.
And I mean, we already did our ideology city, so we've made fun of lots of those guys.
And I mean, that could even be a place that we revisit someday to find out what some of the other districts were that we skipped over.
Well, yeah, it's got to be like a 600-mile wide city, if not bigger. It's got room for every ideology. So when I said 600 miles, I meant 600,000 miles.
Whoa.
It's Mega City 1, man. It's dread.
I just need to quickly look up what 600,000 miles would actually be.
Just look up Mega City 1. That'll be enough.
The internet is useless. I don't know what I was expecting. All it did was give me a kilometer conversion.
I mean, it's better than what it gave me, which was more weird sex stuff trauma. Okay, so we've joined forces with plants, and we're now dominating sea life, and I assume really badly disappointing Grandfather Tree and Plato, who are probably going to very quickly put a stop to our interference with the past by undoing it all, and we're probably going to go back to our normal time for a timeout.
Oh, that's interesting. I thought that was just how it was going to play out, but Plato kind of does like a, nope, we're doing a reset.
Yeah, because we're going to destroy the ocean, and then once the ocean is destroyed, then it's just going to be humans and plants again.
Oh, so do we actually see it play out then? I guess because everybody teams up against the ocean, they defeat it very quickly.
Yeah, and once it's gone, we start systematically, basically taking advantage of every terrestrial creature to the point of extinction at a rate that would make the current extinction rate seem pretty slow and almost pathetic. So basically, eventually, all that's left is humanity and plants, and we're once again at each other, and it's a total regression, a total failure.
Do Tucker and Todd have to acknowledge it? Like, okay, I see now where we went wrong.
I think that would be funny, especially if they once again mention like the particular turning point and are wrong.
Oh, are we in trench warfare with the plants?
Yeah, and it's really problematic because we dug these trenches in the dirt, which is where a lot of plants live. This is not going well.
We're just panicking. I have no frame of reference for how to go to war with plants.
Well, yeah, we dig a hole, and all we do is we find really angry potatoes. And by this point, plants have selectively bred themselves for war.
Weaponized potatoes.
Yeah, they bite. I mean, like millennia of selectively breeding plants tells me that we can selectively, breed in traits with them for just about anything. So if intelligent plants could take that exact same mentality, they could create war potatoes.
With spikes.
Oh yeah, they're probably explosive. Shrapnel potatoes. They just have thorns and then they detonate, and the thorns are poisonous. Like, this war is not going to go well for humanity. So yeah, it's probably at that point in the trench where we're like, all right, you win, Plato. We screwed up. We didn't quite get the lesson.
Has Plato just been there the whole time with like his arms crossed, tapping his foot?
I think that would be the funniest possible thing. He's kind of just a passive observer. He's like, fine, you let me know when you're not happy with this anymore. And we're just like, we're fine, because we're obstinate little dickheads. We're happy. This is great. We love it here.
Until we're in the trench. Okay, this is bad.
Yeah, somehow the Magic School Bus kids are back, and Carlos just died to an exploding potato.
He exploded. He's in pieces, and one of the pieces says, I guess you could say I really bombed. Oh, Carlos.
No, the potatoes have poisonous thorns, and they explode and shoot their poisonous thorns everywhere. It's a shrapnel potato. So he's got a bunch of poisonous thorns in his chest, and he's like dying from poison, and he can still definitely make that joke and then die. And
these barbs really sting.
Oh, you wound me, potato. and then he dies, and nobody's sad. And
nobody's sad.
I mean, I'm sick of them, aren't you?
Is that part of the tree's narration? The tree says, and Carlos died, and nobody's sad.
Yeah, I don't see why not. Oh my gosh, he's still telling the story to the young tree.
Yeah.
And then Carlos died, and nobody was sad. And then, yeah, it's time for us to ask for Plato's help to get this reset and go back to our time. All right, we get it. Humans and plants, the whole planet and everything living on it kind of needs to find a way to live in a more harmonious equilibrium. And so we're allowed to take that lesson back now that we've had pretty much every possible setback you could have on such an adventure.
Does he have a special trick for executing a reset?
I don't know. Maybe he's got like like the Predator wrist thingy where he just punches in a couple of digits and it just rewinds everything.
That works.
I mean, we don't respect space-time. Why should he? Either that, or it was like he can be like, end simulation, and then it wasn't real. Oh, it was real. Actually, no, it probably shouldn't be a simulation. We definitely went back in time, because if it was just a simulation, then we don't have to trust anything we saw.
No.
So he just rewinds us again. He just rewinds it to that moment when we first arrived, and he asks us if we understand the lesson we're trying to have imposed upon us here.
Oh, by the way, Plato may have studied under the mathematician Theodorus of Cyrene, and has a dialogue name for and whose central character is the mathematician Theaetetus. While not a mathematician, Plato was considered an accomplished teacher of mathematics.
Doesn't that automatically make him kind of a mathematician then?
I would assume so, especially back then when it was like new.
When maths had just been invented.
Yeah, I mean, what an interesting time.
Maths hadn't even been invented yet.
With this newfangled maths you kids are always talking about. That's interesting, when it was new in punk rock.
Oh man, there was a point when math was grunge.
Yeah, it was anti-establishment, man.
What was the pre-math establishment? That sounds wild to me.
Is that a premise? Pre-math establishment?
Probably not, because I'm willing to bet that there was no establishment until math.
Oh, yes, so. It was all just cults.
I mean, we've already done cults, but I wouldn't mind doing cults again, especially if we can do a multi-level marketing cult.
Ooh. I would like another episode involving Jeff Beelzebub this season as well. One of his side projects.
I think that would be an excellent tie-in for a multi-level marketing cult.
Ooh, great. Good idea.
We'll call it Abaddon Prime.
That's so good.
Okay, so Plato gives us the third degree, and we finally admit that we understand and that it's all about the entire planet in a harmonious equilibrium, and So he finally lets us off the hook and lets us go back to our time where Cody is still watching the TV.
Except, yeah, he's still watching Magic School Bus, except everybody's there except Carlos.
Yeah, I agree. There should still be like some kind of a hint. And instead of Carlos, there is like a man-eating plant on the bus.
Oh, that's funny.
Like a little kid version of
A little humanoid plant.
Yeah, it's Audrey. It's a young Audrey. Audrey 2. Or maybe it's Audrey 3, I guess.
Okay, yeah, Audrey 3.
And so yeah, she's there. We've now got the harmony thing down.
Oh, because they're is the class actually split down the middle, half human and half plant?
Not necessarily. I think that there is a plant school that has a few human children attending, and this is a human school that has a few plant children attending. I don't think they're that like civilization is perfectly hybridized, but there is some overlap now, and they're not eating each other all the time and murdering each other and enslaving each other.
Oh, right, yeah, it's not taken to the nth degree, but there is sort of a middle ground.
Yeah, plant children are welcome in human school. If they live in a human neighborhood, they can go to a human.
Except in Alabama.
No world is perfect. It's a work in progress. In Alabama, they're still too busy. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to make an incest joke, but technically, I'm going to make one by making a reference to incest jokes.
And in Texas, splicing is illegal.
They don't want GMO kids in their schools.
Right? Yeah.
Non-GMO kids only. Oh boy. Okay, so yeah, there's a little clip of the Magic School Bus. There's Audrey 3 sitting on the bus. I don't know, maybe she's got like a little bow on her head because she doesn't have hair. So now is the time when we figure out how we want to wrap it up.
Yeah, I don't know. I felt when earlier I thought that I felt like we had the ending figured out, and so I wasn't even thinking about it. But I like what it's kind of come along to. So we come back to where he's watching Magic School Bus on the TV. We see that little shot. Would we make a comment on like, oh, I guess that seems like a happy medium?
Yeah, probably.
And then we quickly that turns into a bit. A new character strolls in, is a psychic on what's it called, Prozac, and it's the happy medium. Did anybody call me?
Oh wow, a little too happy. Too happy for this program. That makes us uncomfortable. We like dead and cold emotions. But I do think it would be kind of funny if a totally new character that happened to be a plant walked into the studio and we're like, who the hell are you? And they're like, we've always been here.
Oh, interesting. It's not a plant version of somebody we already had?
Oh, I like that even better. Who do we have?
Jess is big into plants. Straight woman could be a plant.
Oh, so we could... I need some kind of a reference of either half plant, half human, or some kind of humanoid plant character to draw inspiration from for the new straight woman then.
For like a visual style?
Yeah, maybe Jess has an idea. But I think that would be really funny is if she just kind of casually walked into the frame, but now she's a humanoid plant person, but like she still has her face and stuff.
And so would we say, who are you? And she's like, are you kidding? And we recognize her voice?
Well, we'll recognize her face too. Be like, what?
Oh yeah.
Are you straight woman? She'll just be like, yes. Your hair looks great. Like, we'll sit there in dumbfounded silence for a moment, but we did see just now that we've changed the course of history, so we'll kind of clue in and realize, okay, that's different. Be like, your hair looks great, and she's got like leaves and like really, really leafy vines for hair and stuff.
Your foliage is looking vibrant.
I think Todd should give me an elbow and say that when I tell her hair looks fine, because she'll
you know what I mean.
Actually thank you for complimenting her foliage.
Thanks, I dyed my roots.
Ooh, that's pretty good.
I touched up my roots? No, that's gross.
Something her roots, because that's too good to abandon.
Yeah.
But I think that's when we look at the camera and we kind of acknowledge the invisible fourth wall, and that's probably where we
tell the audience it's time to make like a tree and leave.
Yeah, and then curtains.
Okay, that's a story.
That is a story, and also an ecological lesson in Oh God, I don't even know.
What I
It is
mean,
some kind of a lesson about not taking too much advantage of stuff and also not trying to be too human about everything
stop resource hoarding.
and overfishing.
Yeah.
And yeah, just stop over everything.
I guess what is the proper term? Resource exploitation?
Yeah, excessive resource exploitation, pretty much. Maybe don't do so much of that.
Stop seeing living things as resources and start seeing them as relations.
Oh, that's wholesome. So yeah, the curtain falls, and that's the end of today's adventure.
Does it actually, it zooms out, the curtain falls, and then the camera pans a little to the left of the curtain, and the tree is sitting there finishing up his narration?
What would he say?
I don't know. And so they didn't quite learn their lesson, but they did learn a lesson.
I like that approach. They didn't quite learn their lesson, but they did learn a lesson. And I won't say they lived happily ever after, but they did live for at least a little while.
They did live, and it was after.
And then that's probably where the camera slow fades to black, and then credits roll.
Oh, does the camera slow fade to black as the tree kind of like tries to, it mutters to itself as it's trying to correct it. It wants to get its phrasing perfectly correctly. Well, it wasn't quite. If you know when you're trying to, and then the volume drops, and
I like
so does the
that.
black.
I like that a lot. That the tree isn't perfectly articulate. It's having a little bit of difficulty expressing what it's thinking.
It's been an awful long time since I talked to anybody.
Yeah, the tree just kind of Jim Nortons it a bit.
Well, it's not. Yeah, and Plato says, "Oh, stop apologizing so much." I don't know. I would like to bring apologies into it at some point. Plato teaches us a lesson on how to apologize.
We're sorry, and then go right back to doing whatever it was that we were sorry for.
Yeah.
Whoops! But I didn't mean to do that. Yeah, well, you were doing a behavior that was very likely to result in exactly that, and you're still doing it. Yeah, but I didn't mean to.
I'm sorry you feel that way.
Oh, I'm sorry I made you feel that. That's like the weakest middle ground between I'm sorry you feel that way and I'm sorry I actually did what I did. I'm sorry I made you feel that.
Yeah, I'm sorry that I exist in a state that is bad make feeling. I can't do English anymore.
Let's give up doing English for the day then. We're gonna do it all in American Sign Language.
Oh, okay.
I don't have a camera, so you're gonna have to record it all.
I can do that. I have a child's vocabulary in sign language.
I have the vocabulary of somebody who doesn't know any words in sign language, but knows many rude gestures that are currently commonly accepted among people who also don't know sign language.
But also are used by people who know sign language because they're universal and good.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure if you flipped a bird at somebody who knows American Sign Language, they're going to understand you.
Yeah.
In a way, rude gestures are like the transcendent core language from which all other languages are based.
I guess ultimately, I can get on board with them.
Sounds stupid, but funny. But I think that's the end of the show.
This is the end of what we call our show. You're Tucker.
You're Todd.
And this was a cast.
And you've been an audience.
And so thank you very much for being one.
And we'll talk to you again real soon.
Good night, Craig.
Nice to be acknowledged, really.
Fuck Tucker. Tucker sucks. And fuck Tucker's friend, Todd.